China has test-fired an intercontinental ballistic missile into the Pacific Ocean. It's rare for these tests to be publicly acknowledged, and they usually take place in isolated inland areas rather than the sea. The military says the move was routine and complies with international law. It also said the test wasn't directed at any country or target. Let's go to Beijing and speak to Al Jazeera's Tony Cheng about this. So, Tony, what more do we know about this launch?
We got a very brief statement this morning from the People's Liberation Army Rocket Force saying that the missile was launched at 8:44 a.m. local time. They didn't specify where it was launched from, but they said it was going in the direction of the Pacific Ocean. We understand from the Japanese Coast Guard that they had been pre-warned to be aware of space debris in 3 areas to the north of the Philippines island of Luzon. The PLA went on to say that the Chinese Navy was in the area and that the test was conducted as they expected to. So it seems that they've achieved what they wanted to. As you say, it is very rare to have these publicly acknowledged tests, particularly of ICBMs. The last one that was announced to the public happened 44 years ago in 1980. That time it was a DF-5 rocket that was launched. We think this was a DF-41, so that gives you a kind of sense of how much progression and evolution the Chinese ICBM program has gone through since then. But little more than that, the Chinese PLA is staying fairly tight-lipped today.
Tony, as we try to read between the lines as to why this was launched at this particular juncture, I mean, is there any significance that you can see as to the timing of all of this, given that it has, of course, been 44 years, as you say, since the last at least publicly announced launch?
It is, and it was also, again, as you said earlier, it was interesting that it was launched into the sea. We've seen quite a lot of missile tests in recent years up and in Mongolia or out in the western province of Xinjiang, where there are large deserted areas. This clearly flew over the airspace of other nations. The PLA said they had been informed, and this test had been conducted under the format of international law and the conditions of international law. But I think heading into the Pacific, there is certainly a message. That's where we see the Chinese Navy involved in certain conflicts, particularly around Taiwan, but also with territorial issues in the South China Sea with the Philippines recently. I think we're coming up to National Day next week, the 1st of October in China. It's the 75th anniversary of the foundation of the People's Republic of China. And I think missile tests like this are often an opportunity to celebrate the growth and development of China. But I think people will be very carefully watching where it was heading into the Pacific and to the area around the South China Sea.
Yeah, carefully watching indeed. Tony Cheng, live for us in Beijing there. Let's look at this in a bit more detail now with our defence editor, Alex Gatopoulos. So this is an incredibly interesting launch, Alex. Tell us more about the specifics of the missile itself.
Well, the Dongfeng 41 is a strategic weapon in China's nuclear arsenal. It has a range of about 15,000 kilometers, which means it can hit most targets on Earth, including most of the continental United States. Each missile carries up to 10 warheads, and each warhead is about 10 times the explosive power of Nagasaki. So that gives you an idea. It's solid fueled, which means it can be launched very, very quickly with little to no warning. And it's on a road mobile launcher, which means it can disperse and hide in woods and make it very, very hard for an opponent, say, satellites, to try and spot it. So it's a very potent weapon. It's probably the most potent weapon in China's arsenal.
All right, Alex, many thanks for that. Alex Gatopoulos there.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.